I'm sitting here waiting for TikTok to kind of like, hi, let's get going. Well, hello, everyone. Thinking back, have you ever, I'm really saying thinking back when you were a student, have you ever gotten into a situation where you got sick at school? Because we all know schools are gross, they do not clean properly, and kids like to touch each other. Anyway, but then you're homesick for like a couple of days. And then next thing you know, you come back from school thinking that people are going to be like, yeah, you're back at school. And instead, you get slapped with a test. And you're like, how can I take a test if I haven't even got started? Like, I don't even know what's on this test. I've been like fighting for my life. And all of a sudden, I'm getting thrown a test and I don't know why. So that's the same thing because when you guys are trying to take tests nowadays, the GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, the TEAS test, SAT, ACT, and it's dealing with stuff that you haven't seen in a long time, and you're expected to do well in it. It's been months, maybe even years since you even seen this stuff. So a lot of people like to just easily call it a gap. Now, a gap could be something as small as a crack in the sidewalk, or the gap could basically be the Grand Canyon. So, whichever gap you want to deal with, you're going to have to figure out a way to solve this mystery called test. So, what I do here is I take some of those concepts, especially for people that haven't been in school for years. And all of a sudden, they're like, you know what? I really want to get my degree. I really want to be able to be a nurse, or because I love what the nurses are doing. I love to help people, but I know it's more than just that. You want to go and build up your own career or build up a better career because you're able to do the work, but you won't be able to get that pay all because of a piece of paper. And a lot of people don't know that a piece of paper can mean a whole lot, right? And it can open so many doors. But you're able to do the English, the history, and you're able to do everything else. But then when it gets down to the math, you freak out. And it's not because that you can't do it. It was probably because how it was presented to you from the first time. We all have math trauma. I mean, even like your great great granddaddy has some kind of math trauma. All it took was one day, your teacher probably saying, we're going to try something and let's see how we do. And next thing you know, that thing was called algebra. And now you're seeing numbers and letters mashed together, and you're like, why is this happening? So now we're going to have to break all that stuff down. And we're going to have to understand our math phobia, especially the one thing that everybody, including myself, hates, which is word problems. So what we're going to do is, like, as I say in the quote, why do we think math problems is so impossible? I was trying to put impossible, but it wouldn't fit all the way. So I said hard. Why is word problems in particular so hard? And it could come from a lot of things. One, understanding the vocabulary. There's a lot of vocab, there's a lot of words that's in there. And especially if your English is a second language. We all know that the English language is just complex as is. There's there and there. And there's, it just has like different ways and different spellings and different meanings. It all depends on how we approach it and how our perspective is on. But then we're going to have to take those words, take those situations, and sometimes the word problem situation may be something that you are not used to. It could be because I don't know what a guy wire is, but yet we're using it in a math problem that is going to help me design an equation so I can find the missing angle. And just in case you want to know, a guy wire is like, especially when you see a tree and there's like a wire that's attached to the side to kind of keep it immobilized to go straight. That wire is a guy wire, not guide, guy, G-U-Y. But because you didn't know that, now you can't answer that problem because you're sitting here thinking the whole time, what's a guy wire? So that's another thing. And plus, sometimes when we look at some of these paragraphs, it's almost like a novel, but you're reading it like a novel. Like one day, John decided to walk down to the beach to collect seashells, and then all of a sudden a wave came, and they're like, well, how tall is Susan? Who's Susan? Where did she come from? So it's all because like you're just like, okay, I gotta read all this and I gotta try to piece this magical puzzle together, and then I'm gonna have to solve. And that's hard to do when you don't even know what the situation is. And there could be some, hey, Aaron, good morning. Okay. Why the math book is always sad? Because there's a lot of problems. Why is the math book always sad? Oh, I mean, one, they tried to put a lot of practice into it. And that's why sometimes some of the math books have some of these things. But at the same time, it depends. Because there are some people that have just nothing but math problems in there. And then there's some that put like little caricatures in there and a little bit of facial analysis. Yeah, but it was a joke. Not funny. All right, but that's okay. But here's my thing. Because of those word problems, there's no escaping it. I'm sorry. There's no escaping it. You're going to be given word problems because that's another way they divide the haves and the have-nots. The haves, you can get it, great, get a good score, go on to college, go on to whatever life career that you want to do. The have-nots, we're going to keep you down here so we can keep you in the workforce because we need for you to stay down here. So this is what we have to do. We have to basically decode it. We have to break things down. We need to change our mindset towards it. I don't want to say it's as simple as that because it took me years to finally say, wait a minute, if I'm given a math problem, I don't need to read the whole entire problem and trying to absorb all this information. Because when you see a paragraph on a page that is this big, your brain is like, nope, not doing it. They can go somewhere with that, and it's not going to be me, right? Because that's our whole thing. We have to understand, I want to say, our math trauma was thrown upon us. Now it's time for us to decode it. So if you're wondering, who is this crazy woman on Juneteenth, which I know a lot of you guys don't believe in Juneteenth, but that's fine. But my name is Audrey Codner, and I'm the owner of Math by Audrey, as well as ACG Math Tutoring. And what I do here is I'm trying to relieve that stress of dealing with math. It could be your current students right now. It could be a person that's 78 that decides I want to go back to school and get my degree, and the only thing that's holding me back is this college algebra, or it's just me just taking the Accuplacer. And I am overwhelmed, I am scared, and I just need somebody to break it down. All right? So, weren't even invented? Well, it's going to be invented. Because that's their way of making real world connection. I like that. It's just how they're making the real world connection with the math. Because no matter where you go, 2 plus 2, 2 times 2, 2 squared is exactly the same all around the world. That's the best thing about math. It's universal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of things that can kind of alleviate that math trauma so you're able to do the math concepts. Okay, so let's get started. All right, shift this over a little bit so we can get a little bit light. All right, so a student is preparing for the math test. On Monday, she completes 1/4 of her study guide. On Tuesday, she completed 1/3 of the remaining study guide. If the study guide contains 60 problems, how many problems does she still have left to complete? Now, one, handwriting is atrocious, but here we go. So, when we take a look at it, there is a lot going on here. First, when you see this, how are you feeling? Put it in the chat, how are you feeling when you see this? When you first see this, how are you feeling? Okay. Hey, Bobby. Scared and confused. Thank you, Bree. Thank you for your honesty. Okay. Nervous and confused. Thank you. You want to run. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty, because this is what we have to tackle on. Okay. Nervous. Okay. Thank you. Because this is the stuff that we face each and every time. So now, not comfortable, confusion, yes. How Apple user, how are you? Okay, deer in headlights, I love it. Just straight up, scared and confused. Now, this is what we have to address. What is it that's making you feel nervous, confused? Okay, deer in headlights, you want to run. What is it in particular? It might be a couple of things. Put that into the chat. Because we have to address this in order to be successful in our next step. Okay? Because I'm going to be truthful, and it's not your fault. No one has ever taught you how to approach word problems. No one has. Okay? Not understanding to solve the problem. Fear of not understanding. Thank you. Notice two of you guys are saying the same thing. The numbers, okay? Is it just the fact that they're fractions? Okay? You're terrible at fractions and percentages, so I tend to run when I see those. Okay, Apple user, thank you. Okay? So Bree and Brian, yep. Because sometimes we don't know where to start. Okay, do I remember this from 1979, trying to get GED? Okay, but see, here's my thing. Hey, Lynette, we don't have to try to remember from back then. I know, because we have to refresh our minds now. Okay, when we tried to get onto the whole thing back then, we have to refresh our minds now. Okay, so, hi, that's why we're here. And you have to take the T's, so I have to be prepared for questions like this. Got you. Right. So, one, some of you guys are talking about more emotional. So the more emotional is like, okay, I can't remember what I did, hell, from last night, except for from 1979. Right, and they're expecting you to learn that. So that is what we're calling as a gap. Another people is emotional, like, I have to remember this because I want to pass a test. So you're adding that stress of, I need to pass a test. Do you notice that every time you say, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, you end up not doing it? You end up getting to the point that you're frozen and you're like, you know what, it wasn't that important. Let me move on to something else. Absorb the information. Let me help you break it on down. Okay? Remember what the keywords mean. That's important as well. So let's take a look at this situation. We don't even need this first part. A student's preparing for a math test. Congratulations. Don't care. What do I care? There's something happening on Monday. There's something happening on Tuesday. But where I would go is not in the heart of it. Where I would go is in the question. Okay? I see you, Russell. Thank you. Williams, I see you as well. So, the question is, we want to know, how many problems does she have left? Okay? But how many problems did we start with? That's right here. So we started with 60 problems. Do you see how I'm not really going into this? I just read it to you just so you know the situation. But when you get into word problems, go straight to the question. Because remember, we are not reading the word problems like a novel. We are reading it almost like a detective. We got to take away the information that they're giving us. So we got our 60 problems. So what happened? Now we're going to go into the bulk of it. Well, Monday, 1/4 of her study guide was done. All right. So that means we need to take 1/4 of 60. So this is what we can do. I know there was more stuff. So we have our 60 and we need to take 1/4 of that. Now, are you going to multiply the 1/4? Or are you going to divide the 1/4? Put it in the chat. Okay? Are we going to multiply the 1/4? Or are we going to divide the 1/4? Because it says 1/4 of her study guide. Okay, so Stephen's saying multiply. Elisa is saying divide. Okay. Kat's saying divide. We got multiply. We got Bob, I see you. We got multiply. Ray will multiply. Ez multiply. Lornita, there we go, saying multiply. You have to multiply. Okay. So I'm happy 30 is an option. See? Okay. So here's the key thing. There's this word of. So 1/4 of. Of actually has a function to it. Of is multiplication. So when you see 1/4 of, we're actually going to multiply 60 with 1/4. But in actuality, when you multiply a whole number with a fraction, you can do one of two things. You can make that whole number into a fraction, and without devaluing it, you put it over 1. Because anything divided by 1 is itself. So this is why people put whole numbers over 1. Now, if you want, you can multiply straight across, horizontally. So 60 times 1 will give me 60. And 1 times 4 will give me 4. Okay? So now, what's 60 divided by 4? Okay, what's 60 divided by 4? Okay, so I'm seeing a 30, I'm seeing a 15, I'm seeing a 15. Okay, big sister, I see you. Russell, I see you. 50% are female, seeing you with 15. Okay, so how many 4s can go into 6 without going over? That's 1. Okay, if I need to show it this way, I will. So how many 4s can go into 6? That's 1. When I subtract 6 minus 4, that gives me 2. Bring down the 0. So how many 4s can go into 20? That's 5. 5 groups of 4s. Because that gives me exactly 20. Alright? So 60 divided by 4 will give us 15. Alright? Good job, guys. The reason why I do a lot by hand is because the Accuplacer, the ASVAB, some parts of GED, you're not allowed to use a calculator. So I rather prepare you instead of, go ahead, keep using your calculator. I know, that's another added thing, right? So now we have this 15. So that 15 is representing the 1/4. But it's not representing the number of problems. So if we started off with 60, okay, I'm going to put it right here. We started off with 60. We have to still subtract those 15. That's the 15 that she did on Monday. Okay, makes sense so far? Okay, so this is what she did on Monday. I'm going to actually write the word Monday. So, what's left of the ones? We got our 5 because we borrowed from the 6. Made that 0 into a 10. 10 minus 5 gives me 5. 5 minus 1 gives me 4. Okay, thank you. Alright, good morning, Danny Boo. I know, just had a moment. I was like, let me just go. So, this is how many problems that this student has to do when they're going into Tuesday. Does that make sense? So that means on Monday she did 15 out of the 60 problems. So that means she has 45 questions or 45 problems left to do. So now, that was Monday. Here we are, Tuesday. So she's walking in Tuesday. This time she has 45 problems to do. But what happened? She completed what? She completed 1/3 of the remaining study guides. What do you think we're going to do next? What do you think we're going to do next? Okay. What do you think we're going to do next? Oh, thanks for the gift, Lynette. Okay, Lynette is saying 1/3 of 45. Okay, we're going to multiply. Yes, we are, because it has that magical word of. All right, so we're going to multiply. So do we agree with Lynette that we're basically going to take this 1/3 of 45? I just need one person to say yes or no. Okay, thank you, champ. Yep, yes, thank you. So that means we're going to have, let me move this down. I'm going to take the 45, and this time we're going to take 1/3 of it. All right, so unsure. Okay, so once we got that 45, we can make it over 1 if we want, or we can cross simplify. That's another option. So we have 45 times 1, that gives me 45. We have 1 times 3, that gives me 3. And then we want to know how many 3's can go into 4. That would be 1. And how many 3's can go into 15? That would be 5. So we're looking at another 15. But another 15 out of the 60? No. We're looking at out of the 45. So that means we have our 45 minus the 15 problems that she did on Tuesday. So when we do our subtraction, so they want to know how many problems she has left. She's going to have 30. No, because that's the same thing. Because what you could do, who's that? Lucianne. What you're doing is just what's called cross-simplifying. This is just an added step. Because remember, there's a lot of people who are at different levels. So it's not just because you're old. And you're not old, you're seasoned, girl. Seasoned. Get it together. Okay? So if you notice that 45 and 3 has 3 in common, you could reduce that 3 to a 1, and then get that 45 to a 15, and now you have 15 over 1. This is called cross-simplify. Okay? So you can pick the way that you want to do it. But here's the thing. You had to understand what the situation was. One, anytime you solve anything, always read the question. Okay? Always go back to the question. Make sure you're answering the question. So it's not like how many did she complete? So then how many problems are there? You're taking 1/4 of. So you're not really dividing, because if you divide 1/4, that means that would be 240. That's increasing. So when you're dividing a fraction, you're actually multiplying. Too big. Okay? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is actually from the Accuplacer with the arithmetic. So the Accuplacer, the GED, and the ASVAB are very similar. The only thing that Accuplacer does is they give you more college algebra math to see if you're at grade level or if you're able to go into college algebra class. That's the only advancement. Okay, GED math and ASVAB math is very similar. The only thing that they replace is, like Sarah said, with your staff sergeant said. But a lot of the stuff is similar. Okay, the Accuplacer is what is used to place you in the math concept for college. So say like if you wanted to go into a community college, you didn't really do your SATs or your ACTs, and they want to know, all right, you want to join a program. So let's see what math level you are in. So you could be at intermediate algebra, like really low, just dealing with integers most of the day and fractions, or you could be just need more help with like linear equations, or you can go with the next level, which deals with mostly quadratic, and then you can go into college algebra. Okay? So, like I said, when you break things down, knowing that terminology, knowing that verbiage, okay, not a problem. Knowing that verbiage, this is going to eliminate a lot of the information. So, one of the things before I move on is I'm currently having a summer sale for Juneteenth to celebrate education, because I really do believe that understanding the math can open so many doors for you. So I want to make that door being a little more possible to open up. Okay, so I do have a summer starter sale, which I normally sell it for 42. I'm actually selling it for this weekend and this weekend only for 27. So if you go and click on my picture in my profile, you can go and you'll see the link that's there. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So if you see my profile, if you go, just go to that link right there. Okay, now what I want to do next, what time they change math methods in your head? Yes. And that's the thing, Lucy. A lot of our students do not know how to do mental math. Nope. It's almost like you taking their phone away from them. You see how they freak out? Try to take their calculator away from them. It's kind of crazy. Okay? So, now let's work on some terminology. Because every operation has, or some words have, a certain operation. So we have adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So let's translate this into an algebraic expression. 13 less than a number. How would you write that? And put it into the chat, please. Okay, so Joy saying x minus 13. Champ saying x minus 13. Okay, Jackson, be careful with that y equals, because there's no equals here. So you're putting a little extra stuff, and immediately they will cut that as wrong. Even though the second part could be correct, but just because you have that y equals, they would immediately mark that off as wrong. Okay, so Quincy saying x minus 13. Okay, Kwame is saying 13 less than x. Thank you, Kwame, for doing that. Okay, oh, sorry, I skipped somebody. Alicia, how can I skip you? Okay, you're saying n minus 13. Mary Williams saying x minus 13. All right, so I don't want to shout you out, but you did exactly what I needed you to do. So sorry. Okay, less than. The difference, and a lot of people get this wrong. Okay, a lot of people get this wrong. I want to say a good like 87% of students usually get this part wrong. When they say less than, we confuse ourselves with inequalities because we're so used to talking about less than or equal to. All right. All right. So even Rupture Network, he did exactly the same thing. The difference between less than and is less than, if I have the word is in front of that less than, okay, that's an inequality. Because it's just less than, that's minus. That's subtraction. There you go, Miss B. There it is. All right. So we have 13 less than. So we're talking about the 13. The 13 is carrying the minus. Okay, let me put it on here. So if we have 13 less than a number, less than is minus. The 13 is less than. So that means the 13 is the one that's carrying the minus sign. And a number, well, the number could be any number. Since we don't know it, that's why a lot of people use either an X or, if I like to use, an N. Just because number begins with the letter N. All right? So, less than, this is the reason why a lot of teachers say for less than and more than, you need to switch them. Because the 13 is going to be less than. So the 13 is carrying the negative, the minus sign. Okay? Is that clearer now? Yep. Yeah. Patrick. All right. So let's try this one. The sum of twice a number and 8. Okay. The sum of twice a number and 8. Okay, so Miss B is thinking 2n plus 8. Now, if you're not sure, you can also still participate. Put a question mark into the chat. Okay, you can still do that. Still be in the mix. And it's okay, because then it tells me how much further do I need to explain. Okay, Nikki, thank you so much for your honesty. I know that was hard, because it's really hard to say. All right. Okay, crime pays bills. Saying x equals. Now careful, there's no equals in here. It's only an expression. Okay? And then also reread that a little bit. Sherry, thank you so much for your honesty. Okay. I lost you? Oh. So Mary Williams, thank you. All right, user 62, thank you for your honesty. Okay, Serena with my 2x plus 8. Okay, thank you. Let's try one more. All right, AJ is saying my 2x plus 8. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, Ja, I see you with 2 times x plus 8. All right, and then also I'm Kiss. Okay. Now, here's the one major thing. There is basically 2 operations happening here. One is sum of. Anytime they say sum of, difference of, quotient of, product of, that means you're splitting 2 things and you're trying to combine it together. Sum means addition. So we're doing 2 things. The first thing is twice a number. Since we don't know what that variable is, I'm going to say n, but twice means you're multiplying, like all of you guys are saying here, which is awesome. So twice a number, and the and is separating to give us what the second part is. The second part is 8. So sum of, that means I'm adding two things. The first part is twice a number, so that's 2n. And the second part, which is split by the word and, is 8. Okay? Alright, thank you, Ja. There you go. Okay, so it's going to be 2n plus 8. So there's no parentheses needed, because sometimes it gets a little tricky, like when to use the parentheses. Okay? Alright, let's try another one. Let's keep this party moving, because I feel like this is something that you need. Okay? 9 increased by a number. What do we got? Okay? Not a problem. That's why I'm here. Okay, Miss B is saying 9 plus n. Mary is saying 9 plus n. Champ saying 9 plus n. Is saying x plus 9. Lornette saying 9 plus n. Okay. Okay, so Alicia's saying 9 plus n. Alright, let's give me one more. I never did this math. No problem, Tammy. I'm glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're here. Now, Tammy, do you have kids, or are you thinking about going back to school? Nikki, 9 plus n. Uncle, hey, Unc, said 9 plus n. X. Okay, Sam said 9 plus n. Okay. So now, going back to school, awesome. Well, congrats, girl. Appreciate that. Is this for T's? Yes, it is. It's for T's, for GED, the ASVAB, anything that's going to be dealing with basic algebra, and especially when you're going to be dealing with word problems, you need these. All right? So user 62, I see your n plus 9. Kwame, I see your x plus 9. Now, first off, 1, everybody said addition. Good job. Okay? So increase by means addition. Things are going up. But this is not more than or less than. We don't switch it, because we're like 9 increased by a number. So you can just simply say 9 plus a number. Okay, you don't have to switch it. But here's the thing. Pause for a second. Don't be like, relax. Because since it's addition, it doesn't matter. So if we, it kind of does, but it doesn't. Like if I said 5 plus 4 and 4 plus 5, they're commutative, because they're going to give you the same answer. And the only way that I can remember commutative and associative, because if I'm commuting from home to work and from work to home, if I don't stop anywhere, it's the same route. So that's why this is going to be commutative. So even if you said n plus 9, but just recall that it could be 9 plus n. Okay? Just like the English language. All kinds of cray. Alright? Let's try another one. I feel like, where did it go? Here we go. Yep, n could be anything. It could be any number. So that's why you have variables, because your goal is to find what is that variable, what is that missing number to make that equation or expression a true value. A number multiplied by itself. What would that be? Okay, AJ is thinking it's x squared. Mija is saying x squared. A different AJ is saying x squared. Okay. Thanks for joining in. Okay, Kiss is saying 2a. Uncle saying n squared. Okay. How about one more? Okay. Gene, say Manny. Okay. Champ with the x squared. Okay. So if we think about it, we say this quite a bit. So a number multiplied by itself. So if I say that, that could be 1 times 1. That could be 6 times 6. That can be 10 times 10. But if I notice, the short version of this will be 1 squared, 6 squared, 10 squared. My base is basically the numbers. My exponent is telling me how many times I'm multiplying that base. This is why we deal with exponents. When we start getting out into multiplication, once you get past multiplication, a lot of the stuff that we see, exponents, is basically shorthand for multiplication. Okay? So when we see a number multiplied by itself, that means we're squaring it. Okay, make sense? All right. So again, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and follow. Go ahead, hit the like. But also, make sure that if this is something that can help you, I am running a sale. Okay? First time understanding. Not a problem, Nikki. Not a problem. It could also be x times x because the variable is not defined. You could have it like that, but you're going to see, let me see who said that. So sorry. Champ. Okay? You could, but at the same time, you're going to confuse yourself. I would put it as x squared. You're going to see it as a square than just having x parenthesis x. One, I appreciate you using the parenthesis instead of an x. Because a lot of people, when they're first learning this, they always like to put like XXX. And I'm always saying, this is not porn, this is math. So we're not doing that. But I still have a lot of students that are using X. We need to stop using X as a multiplication because when you learn that for what, 8 years? Not really 8 years, about like what, 4 years? Okay? When you start doing a little pre-algebra and all that stuff, when the kids get into high school or get into algebra 1, they're getting a lot of stuff wrong because their teacher's like, you're putting too many x's, like there's too many variables. And they're like, no, this is supposed to represent multiplication. So we should just get rid of the x because it's screwing everybody up later on. All right. Okay, good. Okay, so we have 4x minus 7. Thank you for the follow, right? Okay, so I have n divided by x minus 4. Okay, Miss B, some champs. Alright, so the quotient, what we got? And if you're not sure, guys, remember, you still have the question marks. Okay, so I have 7 minus x, what? 7 minus x over 4. Alright, thank you, Sherry, for your honesty. Thank you, Nikki, for your honesty. Okay, Uncle Milt saying n over 4 with a less than 7. Okay, yeah, you came in a little bit later, Uncle Milt, but I got you. We're going to clear that up. Okay, Mija, good. Okay. Alright, user. I see you, user 62. Alright, Alicia, I see you. Champ is saying n over 4 minus 7. Okay. Nick's x minus 4. Okay. Are we doing a number factorial times x minus 4? Okay. No? Alright. So let's take a look. Quotient. This is sometimes what comes with the terminology. Quotient means division. And it says quotient of, so that means I'm dividing two things. So when I use division, I'm not using the one with the two dots. Did you know that when you do the division with the dots are actually supposed to represent numbers? You're basically drawing a fraction bar. That's what division is, okay? So we always start with our numerator, then go to our denominator. So we need to know we're doing the quotient of two things. The quotient is a number, which we don't know, and 4. Okay? That's representing the quotient. Now, the next part says less than. It doesn't say is less than, so we're not looking at an inequality. Okay? We're not looking at an inequality. We're looking at subtraction. When it just says less than, we're looking at subtraction. So they're saying that the quotient of a number and 4, all of this, less than. So that means all of this is carrying our negative. Less than 7. So the 7 is right there. Okay? So it really should be 7 minus n over 4. And if you want to put parentheses around the n over 4, you can do that. Okay. Questions on that one? Because a lot of people get stuck on this. So quotient of, that means dividing. When they say of, that means you're dividing two things. What are we dividing? The number and 4. So that's where the n over 4 came from. Okay? Yes. Then, less than. Because it didn't say is less than, we're not dealing with inequalities. We're dealing with subtraction. So the quotient of the number in 4 is carrying the minus. So that's why that's there. Then our 7. Yeah, but here's the thing, Miss B. They're never going to put a comma. That's why I write it like this. Because this is how you're going to see it on the test. I really want the practice. How you do in practice is exactly what you see in the test. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wish there was a comma there. Nope, they're not going to do it. Because it's the difference between the haves and the have-nots. Okay? All right? If you want to put the parenthesis, that means I am subtracting the n over 4. Not just the n, not just the 4. If you want to take the parenthesis out, you can take the parenthesis out. Anytime I like to subtract sometimes, especially when I see a fraction, I like to have a parenthesis. That's just me. Okay? There's never a comma, right? Never a comma. So, but it would be nice, but they're not going to be that nice. All right, so let's take a look at another one. Let's kind of upgrade ourselves a little bit. Just a little bit, nothing crazy. All right. The product of a number and 6 increased by 14. Not a problem, Nikki. No. Joe, no. No. Okay, pause for one moment. I have to answer this question because a lot of people does this. Sorry, I got to pin it for a second. Okay. So if they're saying 4 less than 7, they're not saying 4 less than 7. You're reading from the back. Just like any sentence, you start from the beginning. So they're talking about the quotient of. The quotient of is what's holding 2 spots that you're going to divide. You're going to divide the number and the 4. So you're not subtracting the 4 and the 7. That's not going to be right. And I'm going to tell you this because that is going to be one of the answer choices. Okay? That question right here if you had to translate it, this is like considered like a 2 or 3 point question. Depending if there's an equals, it'll be a 3 point question. This one, if they say translate it, this is a 2 point question on the GED. This could be the deciding factor of you passing or failing. Okay, so we really need to kind of get this together. All right. Okay, so we're good. So make sure you start from the beginning to the end. So the product of a number and 6 increased by 14. Okay, so I see your 6n plus 14, Miss B. I see you. Okay, Jack, I see you with the 6x plus 14. Troy, I see your x times 6 plus 14. Okay, AJ with the 689 is saying 14 times 6x. Okay, no problem, no problem. All right. So this is why I try to address this, because these are those little tidbits that's holding you back. It's not because you keep saying to yourself, I'm dumb, I'm never good at math, I will never do anything. Hush, okay? You just have to tweak your thinking. That's completely different from, I have never seen this a day in my life, okay? We just have to tweak the thinking, and then you'll be able to get the score. Trust me, okay? I used to suck at math when I was a kid. Yeah. Don't think I came out the womb knowing all this. No, ma'am and sir. Lots of years of practice. All right? So, here we go from the beginning. The product of. So that means product means multiplication. So I'm going to be multiplying two things. What are those two things? A number, okay, that's n, and 6. So you can do n parentheses 6, but majority of the time you're going to see the number, which we call the coefficient, in front, to the left, in front of your number. Increased by, that's another operation. Increased by is going to be plus. There you go. So Manny, that's pretty good. Just get rid of the x, because once you get into algebra, that x is looking like a variable. So just make it 6n or 6x or whatever it is. Okay? One of the two. Increase by 14. Alright? Yep. Product means multiply, Brenda. Product means multiply. Alright? Hey, Big Al, how are you? Alright, so you start from the beginning. The product, multiplication, what am I multiplying? Anytime they say the product of, that means there's two things happening that's going to be multiplied. The first thing is a number and 6. So it's not n times 6, it's going to be 6n. Okay, anytime you don't see a plus or a minus sign in between the number and the variable, that means multiplication. Okay, all right, and then increase by, which is addition, 14. All right, okay, our last one. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Yep, our last one for today. Let's see how you do. Double the difference of 5 and a number. Okay. Let's work some problems. We are. And I have a great resource that you can use, because there's so much that I can give, but it's not really helping. Hey, Ambler, how are you? So nice to see you. Okay, Miss B is saying 2 times 5 minus n. Okay, Big Al is saying 2 times 5 plus x. Alright, mixing you up. We're saying 2 times 5 minus n. The names you guys have is hilarious. So awesome. All right. You're like, I'm just going to like mix it up. Oh, that'll be dope. Name. All right. So if you're not sure what it is, put a question mark. Okay. If you're not sure what it is, put a question mark. Okay. That's red saying 2 times 5 plus n. Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate you. All right. Manny saying 2 times 5 plus n. Okay, let's go for one more. Okay, let's saying 2 times 5 plus n. Okay. All right, not a problem. So, let's break this down. So it says double, and a lot of you guys got that part. If you're doubling something, if there's a double trouble, that means there's 2. Okay? Could be twins, could be 2 besties, but there's 2. Okay. But what's happening to that 2? When you're doubling, it's times 2. Times 2 times the trouble. So it's multiplying something. All right, so I got my 2, and it's going to multiply something. But what is it multiplying? So now, I'm going to cover up the double, and I'm going to look at what's happening. The difference of, okay, so anytime I'm seeing difference, so difference, no, you're not dumb. Nope, not taking it, not accepting it, Alex, letting it go. All right, so the difference means subtraction. Okay, so you're looking at the plum tomatoes and the Romano tomatoes, and you're like, okay, what's the difference? So you're looking at what makes them different. What do they not, what does one have and the other one doesn't? So that means I'm subtracting. Okay, the difference of what? What are my 2 things? 5 and a number. So 5 is here, and the number is here. All right. Hey, Charlotte, how are you? How'd you finish? All right. So we're looking at double. Because this phrase right here, that forced us to put the parenthesis. Usually, most of the times when they have you do the parenthesis, they will say 6 times the difference of. That means you put your 6 and you have your parenthesis. Okay, you get it? Awesome, good. Then your difference is telling you you're subtracting 2 things. I was about 70? Okay, all right. Wait, what? You cheated. I'm a math teacher. That's all right. You're not cheating. You're actually finally looking at math in a relaxing state. That's what I used to say. So that's why you break it down step by step. A lot of people don't teach us. They teach us this for like maybe like a week. And then they're thinking, okay, they should be fine on every word problem. No, they're not. Okay, so if I may go back to the word problem that we had earlier, we had to break it down. If we knew that the word of meant multiplication, that's why we were able to take the 60 problems that the person had and we multiplied by 1/4. Okay? Because if you didn't know that word of meant multiplication, you're going to feel stuck. And then next thing you know, you're going to be adding 1/4 and 1/3, and you're going to get 2 sevenths, and then you're going to multiply 2 sevenths with 60. And then all of a sudden you get an answer, and that answer is going to be there, but it's going to be wrong. All right? So, yes, The learning lies. I know, right? Okay, so he knew it meant subtraction. Okay. But see, that's what I'm saying. When you do these, breaking them down, giving yourselves opportunity to learn, okay, at the beginning. So that's all right. Because here's my thing. I have my replays on my YT. Okay, I do have a YT channel. Okay, so if anything, you could just go for ACG Math Tutoring. Give me some time, and the replay will be there. Okay. How often do I go live? I try to go every day. I normally come on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But this is the thing. Even though I like to break down concepts, so if you haven't noticed, I also, especially for people that are trying to get their GED, their ASVAB, their Accuplacer, I actually wrote books, and I have workbooks. Say, good morning, how are you? So what I do is I look at each of the concepts that you're going to see on the GED, and I start from the very beginning. Meaning, I start with problems, the types of numbers. So what happens, and I got better with this, I made like one simple QR code. You scan that, you get me to teach you step by step what each of the sections are. So this is dealing with the types of numbers. They always have a question dealing with this. Then I also talk about adding and subtracting integers, multiplying and dividing integers. Then we look at, whoops, got a little crazy, looking at fractions, looking at decimals, looking at exponents, and then lastly for this book, square roots. Notice every page had extra practice problems, okay? Taking it step by step. So you're doing the learning first. Hey, Mel. You're doing the learning first, and then you're doing the extra practice problems. This is the reason why a lot of people struggle. You guys struggle because you're trying to do practice problems and trying to, as that one person said, I'm trying to remember what I did back in 1979, if you were born then. Okay, I was. And then you're trying to apply what you know, and then if you don't, you're trying to look at your answers in the back, and you're like, oh, okay, let me memorize this answer real quick. That's not studying. That's not learning. Okay? So then you have a quiz that does a summarization of it, and then, because sometimes we can't remember everything, I have reference pages. So knowing its color. Okay? Decimal operation, fractions operation, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Okay, everything's in here. Okay, order of operations. This looks familiar. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. International people, you have BODMAS. Okay, so then you have your exponents. And if you don't understand your factors, especially when you're going to be doing factoring or breaking down square roots, I have what's called factor sheets. And some of these not go to just 100, mine goes up to 200. So this is the reason why I do all these. Now, and especially in this book, I sometimes throw a couple extra stuff. Especially when we're working on exponents, we need more practice with it. These are like practice cards. So if you want, you can make them into little flashcards. So you'll have the question on the front and the answer on the back. So you can have extra practice. So all my math teachers, you know, for possibly for next year, if you want to do sections to brush up and to see what kids know, instead of just doing traditional old papers, you could actually make sections and get people up and moving. I know high school kids don't like to move. With basic foundation and messed up with math, yes. So all of these books and resources can help that out. And there's quite a nice little handful. Very generous. Okay? So not only we got volume 1, then volume 2 really hits on order of operations, functions, factors. Okay? dealing with a lot of those word problems that you guys were talking about. This one is solving proportional word problems. There you have some a little bit of order of operations. Then you have a little bit more structure with quizzes. And then, of course, this whole back side, I give you some more flashcards that you can do matching with. So, like, you have some of the questions to do for order of operations, but then I give you the answers and you just have to match them up. So, this could be something that you can have as a section. And, of course, here's the answer key. Now, if I was in the classroom, I would make QR codes and make them into cards and tape them around the room. And the kids will have to go, I know, using their phones, but might as well use it for good use. And they would scan to see if their answer card was right. Okay? How do I get this? You're teaching 4th grade next year. I plan on tutoring too. Awesome. So I actually have a sale going on because I have digital copies of Volume 1 and Volume 2. And in celebration from Juneteenth, and also because Juneteenth is freedom, and I believe that education is freedom. So you will get these 2 volumes plus my practice exam, which is 6 full-length exam questions and all. You can use these to put around the room as well, and go adjust and everything. Okay, so you need to practice the way that you're going to test, so you can sit down and actually do this question. And if you go to my profile, the link is in my profile. So if you go to my profile, you will find it in my stand store. All right. So this is just going to be for this weekend only. You will get all of this plus a video explanation of Volume 1 for $27. Okay, $27. Okay, if you go there, there is a free skills checklist if you want to do that, just to see what your math skills are. And then this last one right here, the Juneteenth Summer Starter Sale, is for $27. Just hit start, and then you can read on what is actually in there. So I give you a lot of detail, and all you have to do is just put your information in, put your card information in, and then boom, instant access. Alright, so if you want it for yourself, this is the perfect weekend. Okay, so the sale ends Sunday, so it's all for $27. Now, just this book alone right here, you have 210 practice questions. Okay, it's not available in the bookstore, but it is available on the A. Okay, the A is the brown box with the smiley face. TikTok doesn't like us using that word, but individually, if you buy those, each of these books is $25. The reason why, because of the thickness, and I use color. That's why a lot of workbooks nowadays, they don't like using color, because it's cheaper. Okay, so if you do want that, you can get these. Also, if you just want the matching cards, I also have them in books. So this one is a combination of order of operations, solving equations, and evaluating. Okay, so that's also on sale. I do have them digital copies, which you can get those today, and you can make copies of what you need. All of my resources. What's the A? Let me see if I can type it in without being banned. Because every time we say the word, I don't even know if I should even type it, because they'll freeze and end my life. Because they don't want people to go off, right? Went ahead and grabbed that. Awesome. So if anything, there's a whole list of resources. So I have those resources with those cards. I have, if you're trying to remember formulas, I have a whole bunch of formula cards that you normally see on the A. So like if I give you, let's say for instance, let's try this one. What is that formula for? ATL. I know. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, and that's why I try not to overload. But what's this formula? What's this formula? And then I'm going to stop because that's a lot of information. Area of what? Area of what? Okay, some sexy is saying pi. AE. Big Al saying circle. Okay. A circle. Lacey, I see you. A square. Sexy, I see you. Can't believe I'm telling a grown-up woman sexy. Okay. Pi r squared. Angela. Hello, Angela. Okay. Area of pi. That's red. Okay. So this is an area of a circle. Okay. You're going to see that a lot with volume. You're going to see this a lot with just basic geometry. All right. And also surface area. So we have to get to know a lot of the formulas. So this is when it gets like, oh man, I need those flashcards. I also have them here. So most of the formulas that you see on the GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, or just even algebra prep, all right, just to like for a quick tips, I got a whole bunch of these flashcards. So what you can do is you can make copies of these, or you can just take them out of the book, and you can make your own flashcards. So then now you can either say, all right, what's the area of a circle? And another person will actually have a match. This you can use for, if you're a classroom teacher, icebreakers. If you want to put them into, because you know kids always want to be with their best friends and all this stuff. All right? So same thing. When you have a volume of a rectangle, you can do a matching game. This is great for homeschool parents. Okay? You need something. All right, you have a great day. So again, the sale goes on. So I'm going to stop right here because it's a little too much. I'll be back on 7 o'clock tonight, but of course that's going to be a little bit shorter. Not going to be as long as I was today. But whole thing that I want you to understand is that you can do the math. When it comes to the word problems, we just have to break it on down. Okay, we need to know that certain words have certain operations. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So by us breaking a lot of those concepts down, that is going to alleviate a lot of that trauma. Because now we see what it is. Now you have someone that's going to break it down for you. So as I said, the Juneteenth sale is going on all the way up to Sunday for $27. I'm telling you, as soon as it turns midnight on Sunday, that number is going back up to the 42. But then you have all these other resources that might be great for you and your kid for now, or maybe just to get ready for the school year. I know we just ended the school year. I know Maryland, we just ended this week. I know we late. But this is what we got to do. Okay, not this brain. Yes, that brain, especially that brain, because if you're able to walk and talk and all this other conversation, you can actually do it. Trust me. I used to be the same way. When I saw a fraction, nope. When I saw a word problem, hell no, not doing that. Skip. And now look at me. Okay, you're currently teaching. No, I'm not in the classroom anymore. I left the classroom 6 years. This is my 6th year doing online tutoring. And I mean, now I'm teaching kids all over the U.S., especially in Puerto Rico. That's my latest one, and Alaska. And I was teaching a student in Nairobi, Kenya, and Cairo, Egypt. So it's like it's really expanding, and I'm able to basically reach more people, adults, students, more than I would if I just stayed in the classroom. And the stress that I have is the stress that I create. So I just say, give it up to God and keep moving, right? And that's where you go. So this is what I do. And then I just sat down, okay, now more people want me, but it's hard to have me as a tutor. So what do? I created the books. You know, I create books for my ASVAB people for the arithmetic and reasoning, as well as the algebra portion. I started creating more books with the algebra at your pace. So we got the solving, we have the linear equations, we have the inequalities, okay, we have the operations and the foundation. I have all of it. So I just really decided to take all the stuff that is in GED, ASVAB, and Accuplacer, saw what was consistent, which was a lot, and just put it all into, I did a course first, and then I said, well, a lot of people can't afford that coaching. So I broke it down into books. Because now you can do it at your pace, at your time. You don't have to worry about getting a tutor, because now you got me. I'm in a book. You got me in a book. Do I did coaching on teaching mathematics? I do. I do. Yeah, I do. Because a lot of the stuff that we're learning, and it's tough because they keep trying to change math. And I'm like, it wasn't broke before. It just need clarification. So if you keep teaching this way and sticks and dots and why are you doing all this? Are we just purposely trying to confuse the kids? 1 minute you're doing this curriculum, another minute you're doing this curriculum, and that was last week. Oh, we're not doing that curriculum anymore. I can't. What are we doing with the kids? So I was one of those teachers. I was like, okay, that's cute. I'm going to do what I got to do. And I bet you my scores will go up. And they did. Because I'm good. Because I understand my kids. Okay, I tried to take and understand. Hello. All right, Brenda, awesome. Oh, not a problem. Aw, thanks, Big Al. You're so sweet. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. Again, if you have questions, go ahead. Just go ahead and click on the profile picture. If you have questions, like, I'm not sure where exactly, like, is this really going to help me? Tell me what your situation is. And then I will tell you, like, tell me what test you're going to take. Tell me what have you been doing to prepare for the test, and when are you expected to take the test? Because sometimes you just need somebody to kind of give you a little bit of a plan to go. If it's my stuff, great. If it's not my stuff, awesome. Are you getting what you need to get to become great? That's all I care about. Okay? All right? All right. So, wrapping it up. Have an amazing day. I will see you later on this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be shorter. If you were here the whole entire time, it's probably going to be a repeat. So just let you know. But again, seriously take into consideration, take advantage of the sale. Get started. And you can get started today. You don't have to wait anymore. Do something for you. Invest in you. Not like, oh, I do, girl. I go get my nails done, get my hair did. You know, just go out for a little massage once in a while. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about self-investment. You had dreams before you had kids. Why does that dream have to stop? Think about it. All right, guys. Have a great day. Take care.